Have you ever found yourself questioning why you aren't a priority in someone's life? You might have done everything right. You were kind, available, and gave generously of your time and attention. But still, you felt overlooked. You worked hard, yet the recognition never came. You made thoughtful gestures, but they seemed to go unnoticed. Why is that? This is a common frustration in many relationships, whether they are with friends, family members, or romantic partners. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing within our control is our own actions, not the reactions of others. Yet, even as we strive for virtuous behavior, it is natural to desire respect and acknowledgement. The question becomes, how can we live in harmony with others while ensuring that we are valued appropriately? How can we balance the Stoic principle of detachment from external validation with the practical need to maintain healthy relationships? In this video, we will explore 9 powerful psychological strategies that, when applied with wisdom, can help you become a priority in someone's life. By understanding these strategies and using them thoughtfully, you can cultivate relationships where your value is seen and respected. These steps align with Stoic philosophy, emphasizing self-respect, balance, and the power of controlling what is within our reach. Why watch this video until the end? As you journey through these 9 strategies, it's important to recognize that none of them work in isolation. Each step builds upon the others, creating a comprehensive approach to being valued in relationships. If you miss even one, the entire process can falter. Watching this video until the end will equip you with a full understanding of how to apply these techniques in a way that is balanced, respectful, and aligned with Stoicism. Stay with me, and by the end of this you will have the tools you need to transform how others view and treat you. Step 1. Prioritize your needs. When was the last time you asked yourself, what do I need in this relationship? So often, we are consumed with meeting the needs of others that we forget our own. This leads to frustration, burnout, and, ultimately, a sense of being undervalued. In relationships, be they with friends, family, or partners, it's easy to fall into the habit of putting others first, to the point where you neglect your own needs. But Stoicism teaches us to live in alignment with our inner values, and this begins with prioritizing our own well-being. Why should you expect to be valued by someone else if you don't even value yourself? The Roman philosopher Epictetus reminds us that people are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them. If you view yourself as secondary in your relationships, it's likely others will follow suit. So the first step to becoming a priority in someone else's life is to ensure that you are a priority in your own. What does it mean to prioritize yourself? It's important to clarify that prioritizing yourself doesn't mean being selfish. Rather, it means ensuring that your emotional, physical, and psychological needs are met. If you constantly put others first at the expense of your own happiness, you send the message that your well-being is less important. This is where the Stoic principle of self-respect comes in. The more you respect yourself, the more others will respect you. Ask yourself, am I constantly giving without receiving anything in return? Do I feel drained and unappreciated in my relationships? If the answer is yes, then it's time to reassess your priorities. This is not about demanding attention or recognition from others. It's about recognizing your own worth and acting in accordance with that value. How to implement self-priority. Start small. Begin by setting boundaries with the people around you. For instance, if a friend or partner consistently asks for your time and energy but doesn't reciprocate, it's okay to say no. Remember, You have limited time and resources. By setting clear boundaries, you protect your own well-being, which in turn makes you stronger and more balanced in all your relationships. Reflect on this. How can you cultivate a sense of self-worth that doesn't rely on external validation? In Stoicism, we learn that happiness and fulfillment come from within, not from how others treat us. When you prioritize your own needs, you are embodying this Stoic principle. By putting yourself first, you signal to others that you are worthy of attention and respect. This doesn't mean that you will always be at the top of someone's priority list, but it does mean that you will no longer allow yourself to be taken for granted. In the next section, we will explore how creating your own happiness ties into this strategy and how it can enhance your value in the eyes of others. Step 2. Create your own happiness. Do you often find yourself depending on others to feel happy or fulfilled? Many of us fall into this trap. We look to our friends, family, or partners to bring us joy, forgetting that true happiness comes from within. This is another key principle of Stoicism. Our internal state is within our control, not the external circumstances or people around us. When you rely on someone else to make you happy, you hand over the reins of your emotional well-being. Not only does this make you vulnerable to disappointment, but it also puts an unfair burden on the other person. No one can be responsible for your happiness except you. Why is creating your own happiness so important? When you take charge of your own happiness, you become self-sufficient. This independence is attractive to others, as it shows that you are emotionally stable and secure. Think about it. Do you enjoy being around someone who is constantly seeking reassurance or who needs others to lift them up? Probably not. Most people are drawn to those who radiate positivity and self-confidence. Moreover, when you create your own happiness, you are less likely to be swayed by the opinions or actions of others. In Stoicism, we are taught to remain indifferent to things beyond our control. This includes how others treat us. By cultivating your own internal joy, you free yourself from the need for external validation. How to cultivate internal happiness? So, how can you begin creating your own happiness? Start by identifying activities or passions that bring you joy, independent of others. Do you enjoy painting, reading, exercising, or meditating? Whatever it is, make time for it in your life. These activities are sources of personal fulfillment that do not rely on anyone else. Additionally, practice gratitude. Focus on the things you already have that bring you joy rather than what you lack. This mindset shift is essential in Stoicism. Appreciating the present moment and the things within your control allows you to find peace and contentment. Take a moment to reflect. Are you relying on others to make you happy? If so, how can you begin to shift that reliance back to yourself? As you cultivate this internal happiness, others will naturally begin to see you as more balanced and self-assured. This increases your value in their eyes, as they are drawn to your stability. Next, we will discuss why it's important to be willing to walk away from situations where you are not valued. Step 3. Be willing to walk away. Are you willing to walk away from situations that don't serve you? This might seem like a difficult or even frightening question, but it is one of the most important ones you must answer if you want to be valued in relationships. We often hold on to people or situations longer than we should, hoping that things will improve or that we'll finally be seen and appreciated for what we're worth. But Stoicism teaches us something vital. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in the ability to detach. In relationships, being willing to walk away doesn't mean you care less. It means that you care enough about yourself to know when something is no longer healthy or reciprocal. It's about understanding your own value and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. Why is walking away so powerful? Walking away sends a powerful message, both to yourself and to the other person. It shows that you are not dependent on someone else's approval or recognition for your sense of worth. This is a key concept in Stoicism. We are only responsible for our own actions and attitudes, not for how others perceive or treat us. By walking away from someone who doesn't value you, you are exercising control over what is within your reach, your own decisions. Additionally, the willingness to walk away shifts the power dynamics in relationships. It forces the other person to confront the reality that they might lose you. And as we discussed earlier, people are often more motivated by the fear of losing something than the prospect of gaining it. When someone sees that you are not afraid to leave if you are not valued, they are more likely to recognize your worth and make an effort to keep you in their life. How to develop the strength to walk away. So, how do you cultivate this strength? It begins with self-awareness. You need to have a clear understanding of your own needs and boundaries. Ask yourself, what do I truly need in this relationship? Am I being treated with respect? Are my contributions valued? If the answers to these questions are unclear, or if you consistently feel undervalued, then it might be time to consider stepping away. This doesn't mean that you should walk away at the first sign of trouble. Relationships are complex and require effort and communication. However, if you find yourself in a situation where your needs are consistently being ignored or dismissed, then walking away might be the best option. This act of self-respect will not only help you maintain your inner peace, but also set a standard for how others should treat you. In Stoicism, detachment is a key concept. It's about learning to let go of the things that are not in our control, including other people's opinions and actions. Walking away from a relationship that doesn't serve you is a perfect example of practicing this detachment. You are not responsible for changing the other person, but you are responsible for ensuring your own well-being. When to walk away. One of the hardest parts of this strategy is knowing when it's time to walk away. The answer lies in paying attention to how you feel. Are you constantly feeling drained, unappreciated, or taken for granted? Have you communicated your needs and still seen no change? If so, it may be time to consider moving on. Walking away should always be a thoughtful decision, not an impulsive one. Reflect on whether the relationship aligns with your values and whether it contributes positively to your life. As Marcus Aurelius famously wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In relationships, we must recognize that we cannot control others, only ourselves. By walking away, we reclaim that power. Next, let's explore the importance of Step 4. Stop initiating communication all the time, and how it ties into being seen as a priority. Step 4. Stop initiating communication all the time. How often do you find yourself reaching out first? In many relationships, there's a tendency for one person to take on the role of the communicator, the one who always initiates contact, plans meetings, and keeps the connection alive. While there's nothing wrong with being proactive, constantly being the one to initiate communication can create an imbalance. Over time, the other person may come to expect this from you and begin to take you for granted. In Stoicism, balance is crucial. We aim to live in harmony with nature and with others, and that requires a certain equilibrium in relationships. If you're always the one initiating communication, you may inadvertently signal that the relationship is more important to you than it is to them. This can lead to a lack of reciprocity, where the other person becomes passive and stops making an effort. Why is stopping communication important? When you stop initiating communication, you give the other person an opportunity to step up. It forces them to decide whether they truly value your presence in their life. If they do, they will make the effort to reach out and maintain the relationship. If they don't, then it's a clear sign that the relationship may not be as meaningful to them as it is to you. This aligns with the Stoic principle of focusing only on what is within your control. You cannot force someone to prioritize you, but you can control how much effort you invest in the relationship. By stepping back, you allow space for the other person to demonstrate their interest and commitment, or lack thereof. How to stop initiating communication. This can be difficult, especially if you're used to being the one who always takes the initiative. However, it's a necessary step if you want to establish balance in your relationships. Start by simply observing your communication patterns. Are you the one who always texts first? Do you find yourself constantly planning meetups or checking in on the other person? Once you're aware of these patterns, begin to gradually reduce your efforts. Don't cut off communication entirely, but give the other person space to reach out to you. This might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's important to allow the relationship to find its natural rhythm. If the other person values you, they will reach out. If not, then it may be a sign that the relationship is not as reciprocal as it should be. Reflect on this. How do you feel when you're always the one initiating communication? Do you feel valued, or do you feel like you're constantly chasing after someone's attention? By stepping back and allowing the other person to take the lead, you not only give them the chance to show their appreciation, but you also regain a sense of control over your own actions. In Stoicism, we are taught not to cling to external outcomes. Whether or not the other person reaches out is beyond your control. What is within your control is how you choose to engage or disengage from the relationship. Next, we will delve into the idea of Step 5. Maintain some mystery, and why keeping a certain level of enigma can increase your value in relationships. Step 5. Maintain some mystery. Do you feel the need to explain everything about yourself to others? Do you often reveal too much, too soon, in the hopes that it will make someone feel closer to you? While openness and honesty are important, there is a certain allure in maintaining a bit of mystery in relationships. People are naturally drawn to the unknown. There's something compelling about a person who doesn't reveal everything about themselves right away. This sense of mystery can make you more intriguing and valuable in the eyes of others. And from a Stoic perspective, it also helps you maintain a sense of self-control and balance. Why is mystery so important in relationships? When you maintain a certain level of mystery, you give the other person something to discover over time. Relationships are about growth and exploration, and part of that exploration comes from gradually revealing different aspects of yourself. If you lay everything out on the table from the beginning, there's no sense of discovery, no unfolding process that keeps the relationship dynamic. Mystery keeps others intrigued and engaged. It invites curiosity and allows the relationship to develop at a natural pace. In Stoicism, we aim to live in accordance with nature, and part of that is allowing things to unfold gradually, without forcing them. The same applies to relationships. Don't rush the process of getting to know each other. How to maintain mystery. Maintaining mystery doesn't mean being secretive or deceptive. It simply means being mindful of how much you share and when. Instead of revealing every detail of your life at once, allow conversations to flow naturally and give the other person the opportunity to ask questions. Let them discover new things about you over time, rather than overwhelming them with information. This approach not only makes you more intriguing, but it also creates a deeper sense of connection. When someone has to work a little to get to know you, they are more likely to value the relationship. Take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt like you revealed too much, too quickly, in a relationship? How did that affect the dynamic? By maintaining a sense of mystery, you allow the relationship to develop more organically, which ultimately makes you more valued in the long run. In the next section, we'll explore Step 6. Avoid being always available, and how this ties into the Stoic principle of self-respect. Step 6. Avoid being always available. Have you ever noticed that when you're always available, people tend to take you for granted? Whether it's in friendships, family relationships, or romantic connections, being constantly available can sometimes diminish your value in the eyes of others. When people know they can access you at any time, they may start to assume that your time and presence are not as valuable as they should be. This leads to an imbalance where your needs and worth may go unnoticed. From a Stoic perspective, balance and moderation are key principles in life. If you are always available to others at the expense of your own well-being, you are not living in accordance with nature or practicing self-respect. Stoicism teaches us that we must value our time and energy, as they are finite resources. If we allow ourselves to be overly available to others, we risk losing that sense of balance and, ultimately, our own self-worth. Why is limiting your availability so important? Limiting your availability sends a clear message to others. Your time is valuable. When people realize that they can't always have access to you, they will start to appreciate the moments they do have with you even more. This is the paradox of human nature. When something is abundant, we often take it for granted, but when it becomes scarce, we value it more. In relationships, it's important to strike a balance between being present and maintaining your own space. By doing so, you create a dynamic where others value your time and presence rather than taking it as a given. This doesn't mean that you should play games or manipulate others by deliberately withholding yourself. Instead, it's about ensuring that you are not neglecting your own needs in the process of being available to others. How to limit your availability. The first step in limiting your availability is to become more mindful of how much time and energy you are investing in others. Are you always the one who is there at a moment's notice? Do you drop everything to accommodate someone else's schedule? If so, it might be time to start prioritizing your own life and activities. Begin by setting boundaries. For example, if a friend or partner asks for your time but you have other commitments, it's okay to say no. Respect your own schedule and don't feel pressured to always be available. This is a form of self-respect, a core tenet of Stoicism, where we focus on what is within our control, our actions and decisions. You cannot control how others will react, but you can control how you allocate your time and energy. It's also important to communicate your boundaries clearly. Let others know when you are available and when you need time for yourself. By doing so, you create a healthy dynamic where your time is respected and others learn to appreciate the moments when you are present. The Stoic view on time and availability. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often reflected on the value of time. He reminded himself, and us, that time is one of the most precious resources we have. and once it's gone, we can never get it back. In his meditations, he wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is a reminder to use our time wisely and not to squander it on things that don't align with our values or purpose. When you limit your availability, you are essentially saying, "My time is important, and I will use it in ways that align with my values." This is a powerful message not only to others, but also to yourself. It reinforces the idea that your time and presence are valuable, and this encourages others to see you as a priority in their lives. As you begin to implement this strategy, take note of how people react. Do they start to appreciate your time more? Do they make more effort to reach out and connect with you? This is often the result when we create a sense of balance in our availability. Let's move on to the next strategy. Step 7. Allow them to invest in you and how this can transform the way others prioritize you. Step 7. Allow them to invest in you. Have you ever considered the role of investment in relationships? Just as people are more likely to cherish something they've worked hard for, they are also more inclined to value relationships where they have invested their time, energy, and effort. Allowing others to invest in you is a subtle but powerful way to ensure that you become a priority in their life. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of balance in relationships. It is not virtuous to always be the one giving without receiving anything in return. Relationships should be reciprocal, where both parties invest in each other in meaningful ways. Allowing others to invest in you encourages them to see you as valuable because they have made an effort to maintain and nurture the connection. Why is investment so crucial? Think about this. Who is more likely to value you? Someone who has consistently invested time, energy, and care into your relationship? Or someone who hasn't put in much effort? The answer is obvious. When people invest in you, they are more likely to prioritize you because they don't want to lose the connection they've worked to build. However, this doesn't mean you should manipulate or coerce people into making an effort. Instead, it's about creating a dynamic where others feel motivated to invest in the relationship. By allowing others to invest in you, you give them the opportunity to show their commitment and care. In turn, this strengthens the bond between you and makes them see you as someone worth prioritizing. How to encourage others to invest in you. Encouraging others to invest in you starts with recognizing your own worth. If you don't value yourself, it's unlikely that others will see the need to invest in the relationship. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our self-worth and actions. By valuing yourself and setting clear boundaries, you naturally create opportunities for others to invest in you. One practical way to encourage investment is by not always being the one who makes plans or initiates communication. Allow the other person to take the lead sometimes. This not only shows that you respect your own time, but it also gives them the chance to demonstrate their interest in maintaining the relationship. You can also encourage investment by being selective with your time and energy. Don't always be available at a moment's notice. If someone wants to spend time with you, let them make the effort to align with your schedule. This doesn't mean being rigid or unapproachable. It's about creating a balanced dynamic where both parties invest in the connection. The Stoic perspective on reciprocity in relationships. From a Stoic perspective, relationships should be based on mutual respect and reciprocity. We are not here to manipulate or use others, but rather to cultivate meaningful connections that enhance our lives. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Friendship always benefits. Love sometimes injures. The point is that genuine relationships, whether friendships or romantic connections, should be mutually beneficial and require investment from both sides. Reflect on your relationships. Are you always the one making an effort, or do you allow others to invest in you as well? If you find that the balance is off, it might be time to step back and give others the space to invest in you. This not only strengthens the relationship, but also ensures that you are seen as someone worth prioritizing. Next, we'll explore Step 8. Don't make them the center of your life, and why maintaining independence is crucial in any relationship. Step 8. Don't make them the center of your life. Have you ever fallen into the trap of making someone else the center of your universe? It's a common mistake, especially in romantic relationships, where we become so focused on the other person that we lose sight of our own needs, interests, and identity. While it's natural to care deeply about someone, making them the sole focus of your life can actually diminish your value in their eyes. Stoicism teaches us to maintain a sense of balance and self-reliance. We should never become so dependent on another person that we lose our sense of self. When you make someone the center of your life, you risk losing your own identity and, in turn, your value in the relationship. Why shouldn't you make them the center of your life? There's an old saying that the grass is always greener on the other side. This phrase speaks to human nature. We often desire what we don't have or what feels slightly out of reach. When you make someone the center of your life, you become too available, too predictable, and too reliant on them for your happiness. This can lead the other person to take you for granted, as they no longer see you as someone with their own independent identity. Maintaining your independence is crucial for cultivating healthy relationships. When you have your own interests, passions, and goals, you become a more dynamic and interesting person. This, in turn, makes you more valuable in the eyes of others, as they see you as someone who brings more to the relationship than just dependence. How to maintain your independence. Maintaining your independence doesn't mean distancing yourself emotionally or withholding affection. It simply means continuing to live your life fully, even while in a relationship. Pursue your own hobbies, maintain friendships outside of the relationship, and keep working toward your personal goals. This is a key principle in Stoicism, the idea that we must cultivate inner strength and resilience, regardless of external circumstances. In relationships, this means not allowing someone else to become the sole source of your happiness or identity. By staying true to yourself, you create a more balanced and fulfilling dynamic. Think about it. How much of your life revolves around the other person? Do you still pursue your own interests, or have you lost yourself in the relationship? By maintaining your independence, you not only create a healthier relationship, but also ensure that you are valued for who you truly are. Step 9. Create the fear of losing you. Have you ever considered the power of loss? Humans are often more motivated by the fear of losing something than by the possibility of gaining it. This principle applies to relationships as well. When someone feels that they might lose you, they are more likely to recognize your value and prioritize you in their life. But how do you create this fear in a way that is balanced, respectful, and in alignment with the principles of Stoicism? Stoicism teaches us not to manipulate others, but to live authentically in accordance with our values. However, we can still apply the understanding of human psychology to influence how others perceive our worth, without resorting to games or dishonesty. The key is to balance emotional availability with independence, ensuring that the other person understands your value without becoming overly dependent on their approval. Why is creating the fear of losing you so effective? The fear of loss is deeply ingrained in human nature. We are wired to protect what we care about, and when something or someone we value is no longer guaranteed, we start to appreciate it more. This is why people often don't realize the importance of a relationship until they sense they might lose it. By subtly withdrawing or distancing yourself emotionally, you create a space where the other person must reflect on your importance in their life. This is not about playing hard to get or manipulating emotions. Rather, it's about giving the other person the opportunity to miss you and realize what they might be taking for granted. When they begin to fear losing you, they will naturally start to prioritize you more. But it's important to use this technique with balance. If you distance yourself too much, it could backfire, and the other person might give up on the relationship. Therefore, this strategy must be implemented thoughtfully and in line with Stoic principles of self-respect and authenticity. How to create the fear of losing you? Start by gradually withdrawing some of the emotional availability you've been offering. This doesn't mean cutting off contact completely, but rather, it's about shifting the dynamic so that the other person has to work a little harder to maintain the connection. Stop sharing every thought and feeling with them and begin to focus more on your own life, hobbies, and relationships with others. Another way to create this sense of loss is to balance your time with different people. By showing that your time is not exclusively devoted to them, you subtly remind them that you have a life outside of the relationship. This can encourage them to put in more effort to keep you as a priority. As with all things, moderation is key. Stoicism teaches us the importance of balance in all aspects of life, and this applies here as well. You don't want to create an unhealthy dynamic where the other person feels manipulated or insecure. Instead, you want to cultivate a respectful and balanced relationship where both parties recognize each other's worth. The Stoic approach to loss. The Stoic view on loss is a powerful one. In the Meditations, Marcus Aurelius often reflects on the impermanence of life and the importance of detachment. He reminds us that everything we have is temporary and that we should appreciate people and things while they are present, without becoming too attached to them. By creating the fear of losing you, you are not manipulating the other person. You are simply allowing them to realize your value while maintaining a healthy sense of detachment for yourself. You are not afraid of walking away if the relationship no longer serves you. And this independence is what makes you truly valuable. Reflect on this. Are you too available to someone in your life to the point where they may be taking you for granted? What would happen if you started to pull back slightly and give them the space to miss you? By creating this balance, you can ensure that you are seen as a priority, not just an option. We've all experienced moments where we felt overlooked or undervalued. These moments can be painful, especially when they involve people we care about deeply. However, through the strategies we've discussed, you can shift the dynamic in your relationships and become a priority in the lives of those who matter to you. But let us remember, as Stoicism teaches us, that the primary focus should always be on ourselves, on our own growth, integrity, and well-being. The steps we've outlined are not about manipulating others or forcing them to see our value. Instead, they are about cultivating a balanced approach to relationships, one where we respect ourselves and others. By prioritizing your own needs, creating your own happiness, being willing to walk away, and maintaining your independence, you align yourself with the Stoic principles of self-respect and detachment. These principles allow you to engage in relationships from a place of strength and balance. It's crucial to remember that you cannot control how others treat you, but you can control how you react, how you invest your time, and how much you value yourself. When you live according to these principles, others will naturally begin to recognize your worth and prioritize you in their lives. In closing, I encourage you to reflect on your relationships. Are you seen as a priority, or do you often feel overlooked? What changes can you make to bring more balance and respect into these connections? Thank you for watching this video and for taking the time to reflect on these important ideas. If this content has helped you gain a deeper understanding of how to build healthier relationships, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. If you have any questions or insights, please feel free to leave a comment below. Your thoughts and experiences add great value to the conversation, and I'd love to hear how you plan to implement these strategies. Remember, we are all on a journey of growth, and sharing our insights helps others along the way. Lastly, make sure to check out the other videos linked here that dive deeper into topics of self-worth, personal growth, and Stoic philosophy. Together, we can build a life of meaning, fulfillment, and resilience. Thank you, and I wish you peace and strength on your journey.